All right, Ed Carbajal here for MyMMAnews.com, speaking with legendary combat sports announcer Josh Palmer. I say legendary because
Cool. That sounded good.
you call MMA, grappling, karate combat. We talked last time we spoke. It was about karate combat, and this time you've got an event that you're going to be one of the voices of on June 19th. Third Coast Grappling over at FITE TV, which is newly acquired by Triller, so that's got to be a big deal for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, until I first started talking with the guys at Third Coast, I wasn't familiar with what they were putting together in that regard behind the scenes, and then when they sort of explained it, and I did a bit of digging, that's very exciting news, and it's nice for them to be the first one in the grappling space into the kind of Triller ecosystem.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because I mean before this, I mean I only knew Fight TV for pro wrestling, boxing, some regional MMA, but that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, because there is, I mean, you've been doing it for a while, and folks like you and I that are kind of in the space of grappling as grapplers, we've already kind of been hardcore fans of grappling, but it to me, I mean, I want to say back when I started, it didn't seem like a lucrative pursuit because there wasn't a lot of money. It wasn't you couldn't you had to go to it to watch it. Now there's multiple events streamed and things like that. So it looks like Fight is jumping on board with that.
Yeah, which can only be good. I mean, you don't want any one particular outlet dominating it, and between Fight and Flow and UFC Fight Pass, there's plenty of outlets for would-be shows and would-be promotions who want to kind of take it to the next level broadcast wise to jump on board.
Yeah, and competition is good for business. I remember I read that in Goldberg's book when he talked about the WCW, WWE, the whole thing from way back in the day. But that's that. I always think of that when I see more and more places to watch stuff come up. So my first question actually is, how did you find out yourself? Like, how did they find you to call this event? And was it through Fight or was it just because you've been around the block a few times? Like, how did you
I, I,
get
th-
this gig?
I think it was the latter. I was filming over in Europe, and I happened to get a message from Ryan, who is the head honcho at Third Coast, and he just said, you know what, I enjoy what you're doing. We're looking to do something a bit different with the next show and try and in their minds up the level of production and that kind of thing. And they felt that potentially bringing me on board to kind of steer the broadcast and the commentary would be something that they would be interested in. And it was just a conversation from there, just to make sure I was available. I didn't have any date clashes, and then specifically what kind of thing they wanted to look at doing, and just start crafting it from there. So yeah, no, nothing crazy, just good old fashioned. Hey, how you doing? You fancy hooking up?
That's great, man. I mean, it's like you have to be around it to get more stuff, you know, rolling and
Yeah,
being around it more.
yeah. I mean, when I first started doing commentary stuff, the two biggest jobs I had were both cold emails,
Mm.
where they knew my name from a recommendation, but it was me chasing them by email to say, hey, I can probably help you here. And I'm very fortunate that I'm in the position now where, promotions, if they think I'm the right fit for them, will come and, have a chat to me first. So from my perspective, it's great.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I wanted to ask you because I'm kind of unfamiliar with Third Coast, being that I guess, like you said, they're new to Fight, but I know this is not their first event. Um, I'm just going to bring up the card really quick on the screen here.
Oh, it's a good one. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this
Yeah,
event.
yeah. So this
Yeah.
is from the Fight TV website. I mean, I know it's the middleweights and it's a tournament, but what can you tell us about like the rule set and things like that?
So there's going to be quite a lot going on in this show because there's not just this middleweight Grand Prix going on. I mean, we'll talk about this middleweight Grand Prix in a second, but
Hmm.
there's several other very good super fights. There's, I think, 4 titles on this card as well. title bouts that are going to be happening, and then they're also going to have a crack at a very, very fast-paced team grappling event that we're throwing in. That is, it should be really interesting, judging by the rule set they're going to use for that. So, on top of all of that, we've also got this insane
wow.
eight-man middleweight Grand Prix, which the rule set that they use does push the action a fair bit. They're not crazy long 10-minute rounds. They're shorter 7-minute rounds.
Okay.
It's a smaller mat space, so they're forced to engage a little bit more. There is an overtime, but the overtime is kind of golden score. It's first point wins kind of thing.
Oh.
So yeah, it can get really dicey as the time ticks down and the match presses on. So I'm looking forward to trying to weave all these different rule sets and threads together on the broadcast.
That's interesting. I mean, obviously the thing on the website they talk about is this tournament, but I don't see anything about the team stuff. And that actually, I love team. I like quintet. So is it like quintet? Is it that attrition tile?
Okay, so it is 5-on-5, but it's done as essentially almost like one. Like in terms of the amount of time it's going to take to get through one matchup between two 5-man teams, it could be incredibly fast. So what they are is one team member from white belt, one from blue belt, one from purple, one from brown, and one from black. And it's going to shoot out white versus white, blue versus blue, purple versus purple. But I believe it is winner stays on. Now, exactly. So you could end up in theory with a killer white belt versus a black belt. But they're only 5-minute rounds. And as far as I understand it, the golden score overtime rules are in effect from the start of the match. So it's literally first point wins.
Wow, I might have to order this. This just got like way more interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you've got a good white belt wrestler who can, let's say the other team's guys don't appreciate it and they don't pull guard quick enough or something, he could scythe through a couple of people with a shot straight off the bat. You could be 20 seconds in and be 3 men down. This whole team concept could go 20 minutes or 25 minutes, or it could go a minute and a half. But the overtime rules make it particularly fast paced. So I'm super excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, did you have the same reaction I just did when you heard it, that you're calling this? I mean, I'm literally like it became my new favorite. Like it's on my radar right now just because you told me that.
Yeah, it could be fun, right? I mean, it's a newer concept that they were batting around, and this is a bit of a trial event. They're two local teams to the area, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully it's not a dud, and it's very entertaining, and you can work more in. I mean, an entire event with this, aside from logistically, that's a lot of competitors, but you could do an entire event of 5-man teams and get through it very quickly. So yeah, I think it's an interesting concept, and like anything, first bash at the rule set. I'm sure when it comes out in practice, there'll be little aspects of it that need to be tweaked or reviewed or refined. That's always the way, But as a first draft, it looks super exciting.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I mean, you got me excited. I didn't even know that about that. So, I mean, that's definitely something that I always like when combat sports try something new. So that's definitely something to draw someone longtime fan like me. And for folks that don't know, that didn't see the last interview I did with Josh. I mean, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu man himself, the 2nd degree black belt, if I'm remembering correctly.
Normal black belt. I get my first degree in December.
Oh, okay. Just somebody that's feels the space and been in the space and understands what the competitors and stuff go through too. As a hobbyist like we are, because I'm an old man. I mean, I try to do my best to understand what these younger guys do. But you talked about logistics, putting something like you said, it's a lot of people. I mean, how's it been? Not just for this, but in general for you. Like, we were talking about it before I started recording, but how's it been, especially for this event, with everything with COVID and getting the competitors and the staff and folks like yourself in? I mean, what's the protocol like? I mean, is it making it difficult, travel difficult, or?
I think I think you'll have to appreciate that this is Texas, and they do
Mm,
things a little bit differently in Texas than
mm,
you know other areas of the country, and certainly other countries in general. Events I've been doing recently, where I've been in very heavily tested COVID bubbles, everything
mm,
is more complicated because of it. This one, as far as I know, there's not a whole lot happening in that regard.
mm.
I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to head down there, and we'll see what's what. So.
Hey, that's kind of good though. I mean, I'm I've had some issues. I was supposed to be on location for a couple of MMA fights this past week, and not knowing what the protocols were is what's kept me home.
Sure,
You know what I
understandable.
mean? Because I can just do it easily from connecting through Zoom, as they've been doing it throughout the past couple, this whole time. Um, one last question about the event is, I mean, outside, I know you said this is the tournament's a good card, but anyone in particular, or any match in particular stand out to you as far as like the first?
It's more so with the tournament. It's more what matchups could we get. I mean, there are some excellent ones straight off the bat. Everyone is very excited to see how is Pat Downey going to do.
Mhm,
Because he's coming in having had that kind of viral slam, that he had recently.
mhm,
But it wasn't against a legit world class level black belt, and these guys are legit
mhm.
world class level black belts. So
Yeah.
he's got Pedro Mourinho in the first round. I think is he going to be able to do that to him? Pedro Mourinho's, you know, got some more experience in wrestling, so that's going to be interesting. Obviously, Roberto Jimenez is just ridiculously on fire right now, having just won Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds,
Mhm,
and really the whole of last year or start of this year, he's just been insane. So he's got to be up there. You've got Mika Galval coming in on crazy short notice.
oh wow.
The day after he fights on who's number one against John Coons. Like that's just an insane first round match as well.
Mm.
And you've got kind of the more established heavy hitters like Batista, is in the other half of that bracket as well. And he's got Pedro Rocha, who's got the wrestling experience as well. So it's a really good, interesting bracket with a lot of different styles in it, and a lot of guys who are used to fighting big, heavily muscle. I mean, so you look at some of these guys at middleweight; they look like they're just they look like transformers. They are insanely big.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think there's a single person in this bracket who hasn't fought you know absolutes against some big guys. So
Mhm,
it's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, tournaments have the added dynamic of okay, well, who's going to have a long, hard match versus a fast, quick match. I mean, you look at that bracket A side. It's not inconceivable that Roberto Jimenez comes out and Adam Bradley. It's his first match as a black belt. It's not inconceivable that Jimenez comes out, gets a quick triangle on him or something.
yeah.
But Pedro Mourinho, Pat Downey is like a 7-minute grind where they come out bruised and bloodied, and you then have that dynamic of the freshness versus the being tired, and there's a lot that goes on in the tournament that's a bit different, and this is a really exciting middleweight tournament.
Oh, cool. I mean, I'm excited to see it now, especially with everything else going on that you just told me about in it. So it's June 19th, 16.99 on Fight TV. Make sure you at 9 p.m. Eastern for folks that want to tune in and check it out. Josh, thank you so much for your time. I know we kind of pulled this out of our hat, last minute, but I appreciate you making time to do this. And if you want to just let folks know where to follow you and all the stuff you're doing that you got coming up.
No, it's a pleasure to talk to you again. I mean, I'm super excited to do this event as well, just because it's working with new people who I've not worked with before. I mean,
Mhm.
Sean Patrick Flannery and Brandon Mullins are going to be on the call with me.
Oh, nice.
And obviously, two very long time established black belts. If anyone's watched the last Third Coast Grappling event, they know their stuff. They know their technical analysis. So I'm looking forward to coming in and trying to just shape it a bit and steer them into the kind of things I think the audience at home want to talk about. So that's for me, that's a super exciting aspect of this one. But otherwise, no, I'm just knocking around on Instagram and Twitter at Josh Palmer Says. That's pretty much where you can find me. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. New season 3 of Karate Combat is coming out in July. There is some big news regarding distribution for that, but I'm not allowed to say anything yet. So hopefully more of you will be able to see it. And then we're rolling right on through with Polaris Squads is something like the 17th, 18th of July. So if you like team grappling, that's another really good one on UFC Pass. And that's Team USA versus Team UK. So really, really exciting matchups there.
Oh, shouldn't you recuse yourself from that one?
No, because I am a dual citizen, so I have passports for both countries.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm technically the only person who can be unbiased in calling that event.
All right, cool. Well, thanks again, Josh, and again, June 19th, $16.99 on FITE TV, Third Coast Grappling 7. Check it out.
Thanks, Ed.